All right, so welcome to our discussion on minerals, continuing in Chapter 9. You'll see in this picture the different minerals that are responsible for bone health, growth and development, blood formation, nerve impulses, muscle contraction, antioxidants, water, balance in the cells, and cell metabolism. So minerals are put into two groups. We have major minerals and trace minerals. Major minerals mean that we need more than 100 milligrams per day, and trace minerals mean that we need less than 100 milligrams per day. Makes up about 4% of our adult body weight, and minerals are essential, so we need to get them from our diet. And you can see here for the different minerals which food groups will give us adequate minerals. I'm not going to talk about each of the minerals because that would be rather long. So I'm going to talk about sodium, potassium, and iron. And then towards the end, I'm going to talk about sodium and potassium's impact on blood pressure. Okay, so sodium, the chemical abbreviation is Na, and we recognize sodium more as sodium chloride or salt. Okay, nearly all of us do just a fine job, sometimes overachieving, most of the times overachieving, how much salt or sodium that we get per day. We do need some sodium in our diet. We need it for water solubility. We need it for fluid balance, nerve impulse conduction. Here are Americans' major sources of sodium: white bread, hot dogs, lunch meats, cheese, soups, tomato sauces, and I'm going to throw fast food in there as well. Remember the AI, or adequate intake, is 1,500 milligrams per day. According to research, the average intake of Americans is about 4,700 milligrams. I think that's even on the low side. I think that most Americans, if they're relying on meals out and convenience foods, they're probably getting upwards of 7,000 milligrams of sodium per day. The upper tolerable limit for sodium is 2,300 milligrams, and that's about a teaspoon of salt a day. And look at this, 95% of us exceed that UL of more than 1 teaspoon of sodium per day. So that's the bad news. But the good news is that potassium can help counter some of the effects of the excessive sodium. So high potassium intake is associated with a lower blood pressure, whereas a high sodium intake is associated with a higher blood pressure. Unprocessed foods are the richest sources of potassium. So things like bananas, oranges, peppers, dairy, beans, meats, nuts, seeds, those are great sources of potassium. And we can very easily absorb potassium in our diet. So we need about 4,700 milligrams, and we're not doing that well. We're only getting about 2,000 milligrams, and that's just because most of us aren't getting enough vitamins and minerals through fruits and vegetables. Iron, we hear a lot about because it can contribute, lack of iron can contribute to iron deficiency anemia. So we want to make sure that we're getting good sources of cereals, beans, animal products, and ready-to-eat breakfast cereals like oatmeals, Cheerios. Someone who is vegan is susceptible to iron deficiency because they're not getting any heme iron, which is the type of iron that comes in the form of animal products. So things like red meats are a great source of iron, and they're highly absorbable in our body. Most of us need about 8 milligrams a day, but if you are a woman who's menstruating, your needs go up because of your monthly blood losses with menstruation. Okay, I'm going to end this video here, and I'm going to come back and talk about hypertension. Thanks.